Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, I will share a meaningful story called Hope Found in the Darkest Night. This story is about loss, loneliness, and discovering light when everything feels dark. Now, let's begin. There was once a man named Thomas who believed he had lost everything. Thomas lived in a small town near the mountains. He was a quiet and thoughtful person who loved simple routines, morning coffee by the window, long walks under the trees, and peaceful evenings with a good book. For many years, his life felt stable. He owned a small business, had a comfortable home, and shared his life with someone he deeply loved. But life can change in a single season. One cold winter, Thomas's business began to fail. Customers stopped coming. Bills increased. After months of struggle, he had no choice but to close it. Most of his savings disappeared. At the same time, his long-term relationship came to an end. The woman he had planned a future with packed her things and left quietly one afternoon. The house became silent. The silence felt heavy. At night, Thomas could not sleep. He would sit alone in the dark living room, staring at the walls. His thoughts were painful and loud. "I am a failure," he whispered to himself. "I had everything, and now it's gone." He stopped answering phone calls from friends. He avoided neighbors. He felt ashamed and broken. Each day felt darker than the one before. Then one evening, something unexpected happened. A powerful storm passed through the town and caused a complete power outage. The entire neighborhood went dark. No lights. No television. No internet. Thomas lit a single candle and sat near the window. Outside, the sky was darker than he had ever seen it. For a moment, the darkness felt frightening. But then he noticed something. Without the streetlights and city glow, the stars appeared. Hundreds of them. Bright. Clear. Beautiful. Thomas had lived in that town for years, but he had never seen the sky like this before. The darkness had revealed something hidden. He watched silently, his breathing slowly calming. The stars had always been there. He simply couldn't see them when everything else was bright. A quiet realization entered his heart. Maybe hope was like those stars. Maybe it was still there, even when his life felt completely dark. Tears filled his eyes, not only from sadness, but from understanding. That night, Thomas made one small decision. The next morning, he would go outside for a walk. Nothing big. Just a walk. The next day, he stepped outside. The winter air was cold, but fresh. He walked slowly through the streets. An elderly neighbor smiled at him. A dog ran happily through the snow. A child laughed in the distance. Life was still moving. His problems were not magically solved. He still didn't have his business. His heart was still healing. But something inside him had changed. He began taking small steps each day. He called an old friend for coffee. He updated his resume. He started volunteering at a local community center. At first, he helped just to stay busy. But soon, he began teaching basic business skills to young adults who dreamed of starting their own companies. One evening after a class, a young man approached him. "Thank you," the young man said. "Because of your advice, I finally believe I can try." Thomas felt surprised. For months, he had believed he had nothing left to offer the world. Yet here was someone who found strength in his experience. That night, Thomas understood something important. Even when we feel broken, we still carry wisdom. Even when we lose something, we still have value. Weeks turned into months. Thomas found steady work again. It wasn't as large as his old business, but it was meaningful and honest. He continued volunteering. He continued his morning walks. Slowly, he rebuilt his life, not exactly as it was before, but stronger in a different way. He discovered patience. He discovered humility. He discovered quiet strength. 1 year later, on another winter evening, Thomas stood outside and looked at the sky. The town lights were shining again. The stars were not as bright as that unforgettable night during the storm. But he smiled. Because now he knew. Even when he could not see the stars, they were still there. And even when life feels like the darkest night, hope does not disappear. Sometimes, the darkest moments reveal the light we were too busy to see. Thank you for spending these few minutes with me and listening to Thomas's story. Stories remind us that difficult seasons are part of life, but they are not the end of the story. Sometimes, the hardest moments help us grow in ways we never expected. If this story touched your heart, please like the video and share it with someone who might need a little hope today. And don't forget to subscribe for more English stories. Until next time, keep learning, keep believing, and never forget, even in the darkest night, there is always a quiet light inside you. See you in the next story.